Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody is doing okay, or rather doing great. Welcome to Workshop 7 of Civil Society Days 2021, with this workshop on the role of key civil society groups in the renovation wave. I would like to give you all a warm welcome. I am your moderator, Marie Dubost. And before I give the word of introduction to our very kind host, I would just like to explain a little bit how some housekeeping rules about how this workshop is going to work. We are expecting a fairly large number of participants. So this way this will work is that you will be invited at various times or throughout the workshop, if that's useful to you, to post some comments in the chat. So we kindly invite you to post questions and comments in the chat. There will be an opportunity to ask questions, direct questions, to all of our speakers by towards the end of the session. And so by default, all participants have their microphones and their videos off. So this is how it will work. I would like to invite to the virtual stage Pierre-Jean Coulon, who is a representative from the European and Economic Social, representative from the European and Economics Social Council. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mary. European Economic and Social Committee, yes. It is the representative of civil society in Europe.
My apologies, I'm sorry, I had a brain freeze.
No problem, no problem. We are friends here in this workshop, and what is important is we are working on the same way for a win-win-win, and maybe another win solution in the field of renovation wave. And as a representative of civil society in Europe, I'm so happy to welcome all of us, of course, but mainly with great pleasure, property owners, international, representative by my friend Emmanuel Koss, and European architects. And this is very important because all the stakeholders has to be involved in this very important project. As I said at the beginning, it's a win-win strategy for the European Union. Win, of course, for climate change, because when renovating 40 million of buildings, it will be a true and concrete fight against climate change. It is a win and a win solution for social issues because to give the possibility for workers to have work, to have jobs in the field of renovation, the field of buildings, and also, and maybe the most important, to give close to 100 citizens of Europe and families to have better life in better housing. And the third, the last but not the least, is very important also for the companies because it will be the occasion to have work and to have possibility. Some issues probably you will speak after me. One issue very important is the problem of money to have the possibility of financial for this renovation. The second issue is the problem of energy poverty, and it is an occasion also to fight about this. Another issue, and I will finish with this. Another issue is how to be closer for renovation, closer to the life of the people. I mean that the proximity of the renovation with the people are living is very important. And from my side, I believe that to share with all the people, and it is very important today to have the point of view of property owners who are very important in Europe, and also the architects, because they are going to, and we'll speak maybe at the end of this workshop about Bauhaus. It is very important for us to have the same way and to share all the ideas on this. I will probably speak a little bit more concretely at the end of the workshops about some ideas we have, about some projection we will have, about some conclusion and recommendation we will give in a few minutes. So thanks a lot for welcome, and together the best.
Thank you, Pierre-Jean. And indeed, we will hear again from Pierre-Jean Coulon, a rapporteur for the Renovation Wave to the European Economic and Social Committee. Indeed, thank you. Again, at the end of this session. I would also like maybe to mention that this session is being recorded and is being live streamed at this moment to anyone who's interested to know this. And so here next, we will hear from Kadri Simpson, who is the Energy Commissioner and formerly a member of the Estonian Parliament, who has kindly recorded a video address for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. European citizens deserve to spend their days in buildings that are healthy and sustainable. Our aim is to improve people's lives through a sustainable building stock in Europe. Last year, through our Green Deal initiatives, we began this journey. And given our subject today, there are 3 strands that stand out in particular: energy system integration, the renovation wave, and eco-design. Each one stands for driving an affordable, renewable, and efficient supply of energy to everyone. Energy system integration ensures that the most affordable renewables reach our consumers from nearby and local sources, while the renovation wave offers safe and healthy spaces for us all to dwell. But of course, that's not where the story ends. Last year made us rethink what it means to be safe, healthy, and secure. We are coming from great uncertainty. As we recover, we want to take control of the future back into our hands. This may mean cleaning up the attic, redoing the walls, or changing the layout of the furniture. But ultimately, as the next step, we hope we will use the unique opportunity to build back better. And this is precisely what our recovery plan is about. It will invest in a green future and empower consumers along the way. The Next Generation EU and the Recovery and Resilience Facility will stand shoulder to shoulder with the largest EU budget in history. Together, they will give us the financial firepower for green projects like those included in the renovation wave. As we speak, member states are finalizing their national recovery plans. And it's no surprise that the renovation wave is making a regular appearance. It creates jobs and helps us meet our climate targets. It's also a way to reach every citizen in a tangible way. These instruments are not just an opportunity to exit from the current crisis. They can help us build our resilience for the many bumpy patches on the road ahead, including alleviating energy poverty. Just a few years ago, we could count 34 million Europeans struggling to keep their homes warm enough in the winter. That's almost 3 times the entire population of Belgium. And this year, with family incomes hit hard in the economic slump, this figure is likely to be even higher. So, to support our citizens and the efforts of member states, we have issued a recommendation on energy poverty. And not surprisingly, the main takeaway is that renovation provides the best solutions to ease the burden. That leads me to our concrete aims for the renovation wave. Our goal is to refurbish at least 35 million dwellings by 2030. We are committed to making this a success story and reaching the highest possible performance standards. The Commission will scale up technical assistance to prepare better projects, attract more funds, and bring the EU closer to the regional and local actors. Specifically, we are going to strengthen the European Local Energy Assistance, or in short, ELENA. An ambition of this kind can only be realized if we have a strong team working together. Those of you listening today make up that team. You are our champions on the ground. National, regional, and local authorities must place energy efficiency at the core of concrete measures and financing. Regions and cities that manage schools, hospitals, and service buildings must renovate their buildings to higher standards. Local energy communities must bring the thrust of local employment. Meanwhile, architects and engineers must unleash their creative vision to translate our plans into reality. Ladies and gentlemen, we're counting on you to help us create that safe, future-proofed future and to help empower our consumers along the way. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the discussions today.
Wonderful. And now our third introductory speaker is Emmanuel Koss, who is Secretary General of the International Union of Property Owners, abbreviated UIPI. Emmanuel, over to you.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, everyone. As the Commissioner just said, we are facing unprecedented challenges, and the renovation wave is a very ambitious project. The measure announced in this strategy will impact the life of the citizens and the business activity of the professional we represent. This will also impact the property they own or rent or the building they design. So therefore, on behalf of the Architect Council of Europe and the International Union of Property Owners, I'm welcoming you today to this workshop. Both our associations are used to work together, both us at EU level, but also at national, regional, and local level can help to promote a better renovation wave. We are key citizen, civil society groups. So through our 40, for example, the Architect Council of Europe, through I think 43 members, if I'm not mistaken, can promote higher standard and upskill the 500,000 architects. Us at the International Union of Property Owners, through a 31 member association, we can assist, support, and help our members to make this transition towards more sustainable and better building stock achievable. Everything in the renovation wave is important for us, but maybe what stands out is for us to preserve this architectural value and to promote this holistic but realistic transition to a better building stock. In our view, the objectives have to be achievable. They have to be fit for purpose and translated into reality. So therefore, it's where associations like us, or European but also national association, can help to be one of these missing link between the policymakers and the ground. So this civil society days were for us really the perfect opportunity to give a floor to some of the members to hear how they see their role in this renovation wave, and also to listen what they do on the ground and see what they view on the renovation wave. We will then, of course, also listen to the response of key decision makers from the Parliament and the Commission. So thanks to the Commissioner, thank you to the Economic and Social Committee, and thank you to Mr. Collomb for hosting us today. Thanks to all the speakers. As the Commissioner just said, we can be champions. We can make this renovation wave a success. But in order to do so, we have to make this wave based on trust and common effort and common dialogue. So thanks to everyone. I'm looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for this this introduction and setting the stage for us, which leads us actually into our first panel discussion about raising awareness among final users. And our first guest is Morten Andreas Meyer, Secretary General of the Norwegian Homeowners Association. And this is where I get to practice my Norwegian. Huseierne. I hope I said that's right. Morten Andreas Meyer, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Huseierne, almost perfect. The Norwegian Homeowner Organization. We are an independent and non-profit organization owned by the consumers and the homeowners in Norway. Maybe some of you ask, why is a Norwegian participant in this European Union event? It's simply because Norway transposes most of the EU regulations and directives. But even more important this afternoon, we live close to the North Pole. We have been used to making our homes energy efficient. It's simply a must for us. And we have experience with national rules in this area for almost 100 years. Our main objective today, give you a view on how civil society groups can help to bridge the gap between the consumers of Europe on one side and the policy makers on the other. We are in a sort of middle position where we both can support the policymakers in their policymaking, and we can guide, educate, and motivate consumers to make their homes energy efficient. We are all the time picking up valuable information through our comprehensive contact with our members. They tell us what they think is important. They ask us the questions about how to upgrade the house, and they give us insight in what they look upon as the key obstacles. All this makes us able to catch the sentiment of the public and bring forward facts and figures to the decision makers, both in the government, in the parliament, and to local authorities. With this knowledge, we can raise questions and bring forward concerns and expectations that are important to the homeowners. And to be honest, sadly, all too often we experience when civil society and consumer groups have not been consulted, we end up with rules and initiatives that are not adapted to the reality, too difficult to understand for consumers, and too difficult to comply with. Therefore, a strong advice from us for the success of the renovation wave involve the key stakeholder groups. As an association, we also have a responsibility contribute to the common objectives in the best interests of both the society and the single member. We are an active partner in teaching, motivating, and helping the public to take action. When it comes to that part of our mission, we have a strong advantage. As a non-profit organization, the consumers, the house owners, trust our advice. We know through our research that the homeowners want to make good choices to support the climate objectives and make their home energy smart. But we also know that the majority don't know where to start, how to do it, and how different action will influence energy savings in their own home. That's the reason for why we are developing a digital energy advisory platform. This application will be available for every household in Norway, not only our members. Based on the experience from our beta testing, we are quite sure such a tool can be important to support the renovation wave. Also, as a part of our free membership advisory service, we have resources to answer questions related to buildings and construction technology, topics right in the middle of the renovation wave. Before I close my parts, some takeaways from our experience. Have a long-term perspective. Getting people to change behavior takes time and demands a consistent message over time. Mind the gap. People are motivated and they know what their part in the bigger picture is. The renovation wave is an ambitious plan, and we need to ensure that it will be a success. In order to do so, we need to focus on how we would make it implementable. Don't overdo it. Rules tend to be too complicated and too elaborate. Keep it simple. I repeat, keep it simple. Thank you for listening to the Consumer Voice this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Morten Andreas Meyer, and I would like also to remind our viewers that you can ask your questions also in the chat. You can put your questions in the general chat. Feel free also to share your comments about what you are hearing, because we are already seeing some very interesting comments. I will have more questions for you, Morten, and also maybe our audience will. But before we do that, I would like to hand over to Julie Fernandez, who is the council member of the Conseil National de l'Ordre des Architectes in France. I'm much more confident of my pronunciation on this one, abbreviated CNOA. Julie Fernandez, the stage is yours. Julie, you are muted.
Yes, hello.
There we are.
Sorry, I had my microphone cut off. So, hello everybody. So I'm an architect. I'm a member of the French of the Council of French Architects, and I want to talk with you today about the way the Council of French Architects are raising awareness among the final users, and so we are actually working on two main axes. The first one is to work with the architects themselves, and the second one is to work and to talk and to build up a tool for the end users, so the property owners themselves. We do not act directly with the more professional real estate owners, because we think that on the rehabilitation or the renovation questions, they have their own tools and they are aware of what they need to do. So as a professional organization, our goal is to gear and to alert architects towards different markets and the renovation market especially. And it's a big emerging market, and as like the other speaker told you before, it's the renovation market is a market that is really engaging new jobs and new skills, and is really promising. So we know that architects in general are more trained and used to work on new construction projects than refurbishment. But right now we are trying to make them aware that renovation projects are the market of today and tomorrow. We remind them all the time that right now we have goals like the European policy and the mondial policy is to reduce up to 75% the green gas emissions at the horizon of 2050. And for that, we need to really start moving on and renovating the building, how do you say, the building park, right? So we encourage architects to register right now on a public national internet website. It has been created 2 years ago, and it's named Faire, like do it. And on this website, you will find throughout France, craftsmen, architects, engineers, like people willing to get engaged and to renovate small, like the private property houses or individual dwellings. So the government build up this portal, and it should simplify the access for civil society towards professionals. So for us, as the Council of French Architects, it's a real job, because we need to keep update all the data we are sharing with FAIR, and especially the data are the willing architects who are registered on FAIR to check that they are I'd say that they can really work on this kind of renovation projects. On the second hand, we have an action, like a kind of a strong action towards the end users, so the non-professional owners, to motivate their renovations. And how do we do that? We build up with a group of architects, we built up some tools, and we called it our toolbox. And we really focus when we speak to households. We really focus on the concept of improving well-being and comfort first, coziness also, when they want to renovate their dwelling. The energy issues come as an overlapping topic, and the money saving issues also. So the first entry, or the first point we make, is how to improve, how to come up with a project, and to desire activating some kind of works on your house. So we are really pushing towards a global renovation approach, instead of getting into the approach element by element, like, for example, changing the window or insulating your roof. We are more in a perspective of proposing a global renovation project. We are constantly encouraging quality versus cheap or partial actions with low results. Right now, I guess it's the same in other European countries. We have feedback, and we notice that partial renovation is not really getting to the goal we are expecting. So we encourage the households with this kind of global renovation approach, and they should take advantage of renovation to, for example, to get a new room, or to have a home office approach, like now with the COVID, we can notice that a lot of people, right now, a lot of people are working at home. So how can you refurbish your home in those kind of goals? Finding solution when you get older, how you can also rethink the partition of your house, or if you are waiting for a baby, for example, or maybe you can split your home to, if you are living in a big home, like to split your home so that you make a small apartment and you can get income. And so the works you are engaging on your home will help for a better life afterwards. We are also engaging or encouraging rethinking refurbishment in terms of reversibility or adaptability, so that when your situation changes, you can adapt. You can adapt and change very easily your home. We are also very conscious that renovating implies a lot of thus cause a lot of troubles for households. So it's also difficult for households to contract with very specific construction firms like plumbers, electricians, plasters. It's complicated. You don't really control the price when you're a non-professional qualified person. And so all these reflections led us to build this toolbox or this toolkit where you will have like a very simplified contract with integrating like architects and craftsmen, so that the owner will get engaged just with one person. He will have to talk just with one person that will centralize and will simplify all the process of refurbishing his home. So that's the first thing. Then the second part of our toolbox is to produce. We have right now, we have two software in this toolbox that will help the architects and show the owner how to reduce to make efficiency and to be more efficient in terms of energy, right? And so the two software, the one is called Oscar, and it's a software assessing building solutions. With Oscar, architects can evaluate different scenarios, and then they can optimize the building energy performance. For example, it's made for new buildings, but also for renovation. And the other software is called Cap Renov Plus, and there are others existing like that. And that's more tools that will help, like making a diagnostic and assessing energy consumption before and after renovation.
Wonderful.
So, and the third part of our toolbox kit is to build a roadmap and questionnaires for architects, so that it's a prepared paper that will save some time when you go to see a private owner, and to be able to sum up and to go directly to a goal. So
thank you.
Toolbox. Am I too? It's maybe it's. I'm almost finished. Do I have more time? Is it okay?
I see that we have other questions have come in, but I wanted to maybe move to the panel discussion part, if that's okay with you, and maybe we can see if we can come back to that point. Yes, I would like to invite Morten Andreas Meyer to answer a question regarding the activities of the Norwegian Homeowners Association, Huseierne. Could you provide us a bit more detail with your own project, Strømsmart, and how it is linked to the renovation wave?
Yeah, of course. I'll try to do it short and simple. As I told you in my introduction, we have asked the consumers, and the answer is very clear. The homeowners, the consumers, are more than willing to participate in the green shift. They really want to make their homes energy efficient. But the problem is they don't know where to start. So we thought that we, in this middle position, could give that kind of energy advices, what to do in your home, exactly in your home. So we had an assumption: if you put together data from different data sources, from consumption data, from household data, from building data, and from climate data, you have so much data that you could make very high quality individual advice what to do. And then we have put this together in an application, and of course in 2021 for mobile devices as the priority. And we are now we have done the beta testing, and the quality of the advices is quite high. But we are struggling, and what we are struggling with is to have access to the consumption data. The state-owned data hub, the state-owned data hub has made a construction that is perfect for the energy industry, but not for the consumers and not for the third parties as us. So we are now struggling to. We are developing this application for all households in Norway for use it for free, but we are dependent on the consumption data for the last 12 months, and that's impossible for us to have access to that data, in spite of the members and the homeowners giving us the permission to do that, because the construction in the state-owned data hub is very weak, and the state-owned data hub is still prioritizing the energy industry instead of the consumers, instead of the third parties. So that's the problem at the moment, but we are working on it. So at the moment, we can support all the members that also have a client relationship to our energy partner, but we could have released it to all the consumers in Norway, but we are not able to do that at the moment. The technology is already developed. It's an example on the lack of partnership between public sector and organization like us.
Thank you. And I think it's very interesting to see how this coordination between the civil society and various institutions and policymakers is also happening. I also see that there's an interesting question that came through the chat to Julie Fernandez, and if that's okay, we will probably also then address that towards the global Q&A at the end of the session. I have another question for Morten Andreas Meyer, because you have highlighted the importance of getting this whole picture. Would you have the possibility to briefly describe some practical examples from Norway, from your organization, in terms of what this could look like concretely?
Yeah, we are supporting, or we have, it's a lot of different elements in the picture of what is the cost by having your own home. And in Norway, there have been no statistics to understand the complete cost structure and how the cost structure is developing year for year. So we have provided public sector, both the civil servants and the policymakers, with figures for the last 10 years that just don't tell about one of the elements which is important for the total cost picture, having your own home. But we have put all this data together and have been able to give both policymakers, media, and of course each homeowner a detailed picture on how the different cost elements is changing year for year. And to be honest, it's so interesting that the cost elements which is under competition is very stable, but the cost elements decided by the public sector, by the politicians, is increasing much more than the general prices are growing. So that's a kind of example of how we try to give a more broad and complete picture into policy decisions.
Thank you. Thank you. And I continue to encourage our 80+ viewers to also continue putting questions in the chat for the various speakers so we can come back to them again at the end of this session. The next part of the panel is to talk about the policy developments for a renovation wave that fosters civil society engagement. And our first person to intervene is working at DG Energy at the European Commission, Paula Rey Garcia, who is Deputy Head of the Unit for Energy Efficiency, Buildings and Products. Over to you.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. And really thank you for organizing this workshop because we really think that is a type of dialogue that we very much need to put the renovation wave on track. So as Commissioner Simpson indicated, how we see the renovation wave is really about improving people's lives. So by renovating buildings and by making them also more sustainable. So we really see that this is a central element of the renovation wave strategy. And the other very central aspect to be underlined is the link to the recovery efforts. What we will be supporting through the recovery plan are really concrete projects, tangible projects that we think can really make a difference for citizens. And they can also make a difference for jobs and for local economies. Another important aspect to underline is that by boosting renovation, we also bring many concrete benefits for owners, for tenants, also for those who are energy poor. And this is why we have really put the focus as one of the focus areas of the renovation wave on worst performing buildings and on energy poverty. And we also see other focus areas on public buildings and on social infrastructure, for instance, schools or hospitals or social housing where this is established, which is the case in some member states. And the third focus area that we underline in the renovation wave is also something that is now very central to policy developments, which is the decarbonization of heating and cooling. And within it, of course, the transition away from fossil fuel-based heating. But for all this, for this big plan and strategy to succeed, we think that really very close cooperation and alliances between municipalities, civil society, and the private sector is critical. We need regions and cities because they really manage a large section of the building stock even directly, and they have a large influence on the day-to-day life of citizens. We also see, for instance, with the Covenant of Mayors, how local authorities are very active, leading by example and showing the way for others to follow. We need also very active stakeholders. For instance, the role of architects or engineers was highlighted, and is really crucial for transforming homes and public spaces and buildings. And in this regard, a very important barrier is having necessary skills and a qualified workforce across all member states. And we, of course, need owners and tenants and associations. We need citizens' engagement as a precondition for the renovation wave to work, as Emmanuel was also mentioning earlier on. So we should really communicate that energy renovation brings, first of all, comfort and well-being. I fully agree with one of the previous speakers. It also brings energy and money savings, better living and healthier conditions, but it's also an energy and climate imperative. This, for instance, for the young generations is also a very important message to pass over, and it should be also for people and society at large. And for these benefits, these very important benefits to materialize, we believe that we absolutely need the renovation wave to be a shared project across Europe. It really needs to work at all levels. it needs to mobilize and generate ownership at all levels, cities, local and regional authorities, civil society, national governments, local governments, all stakeholders. So in this regard, I really look very much forward to this panel and to the fruitful dialogue with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to, if I can, follow up with a small question, because I know that what's very important, of course, here is the interaction with civil society and how essentially we can bring citizens on board with these initiatives. So I was wondering, what efforts could the European Commission invest to ensure that this renovation wave is accepted, the initiative, and also that from the demand side? Would you have some propositions or some ideas about this?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I would first underline the message that it really needs to be a joint effort. If it's only a Commission effort, it will definitely never succeed because of the nature also of the building sector and of the renovation reality and how it really cuts across many areas and many levels of governance and different types of issues and of stakeholders. But from the Commission side, more specifically, relating to your question, our efforts to really create a pull effect from the demand side will come from different angles. They will be regulatory. They will also, very importantly, focus on the financing and the technical assistance aspects, and they also relate to having a very solid governance in place. From the regulatory perspective, with the renovation wave, we announced a number of legislative initiatives. And if we put the focus according to the question on the demand side and on engagement by citizens and by public, really public actors and society at large, we think that we need predictability and we need clear signals to the market to really enable the sector to develop new business models and to also create legal certainty. So, for instance, we believe that the minimum energy performance standards, which is one of the types that has been announced to be explored now in the legislative phase, they can really be a powerful tool in this regard. And here I would mention that, in fact, there is an ongoing feedback period for the very first step of the revision of the energy performance of buildings directive. And this will be followed by an open public consultation, but it's very important that already in the feedback phase, we get as much input as possible from all stakeholders and civil society. A very important element also to activate the demand side is strengthen technical assistance. The Commissioner mentioned Elena, project development assistance, support for reform programs. This is really fundamental to aggregate small projects, to give advice, to build capacities, but also to stimulate demand and the access to finance. This is really a precondition for demand side support and engagement. And a third aspect that I mentioned earlier on is really linked to a solid multi-level governance, engagement by all levels, and also active participation and partnerships with local authorities, with Economic and Social Committee, Committee of the Regions, relying also on organizations that work closer to citizens, and very importantly, showing really very concrete examples on how it can work and how it works and on the benefits that sustainable buildings bring. And finally, I would also mention that we need to also make it an inspiring project. And in this regard, the new European Bauhaus is a very important initiative and is very closely linked to the renovation wave.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Marcos Sempere, member of the European Parliament. Marcos, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. First of all, I would like to thank the Architects Council of Europe, the International Union of Property Owners, and the European Economic Social Committee section of Transport, Energy, Infrastructure, and also the Information Society for organizing this event within the Civil Society Days 21st. Okay, as has been discussed through all the panels, the renovation wave of buildings cannot be achieved without the mobilization of key civil society groups. They must play a crucial role. We think that the renovation wave and also the new European Bauhaus must be a bottom-up initiative. If not, it will not be a successful initiative. The renovation of buildings is now more important than ever. All Europe countries has an old building stock and a low quality compared to what can be offered with today's techniques and knowledge. So is that now is an opportunity to make a big renovation of all these buildings that were built between the 50s, 60s, and 70s decades of the past century. Moreover, this renovation of buildings must be comprehensive, not only affecting energy renovation, but also accessibility, adapting the space we use on a daily basis to new ways of living, because we don't live as we did on the past century. We don't have the same scheme of families. We don't have the same scheme of, for example, working at home now or caring elder people at home. We have new ways of living, and we must take the opportunity of this renovation wave to adapt our houses, our buildings, our neighborhoods to these new ways of living. Our society has seen how the COVID pandemic has changed also the way of live, and it has changed our work, and domestic spaces need to be rethought. Through the renovation wave, we can solve the current problems of fuel poverty, accessibility, and energy performance that many of our buildings have. But this can be extended also, and we think that we have to extend it also to public space, whose construction and design has also an impact on citizens and the environment, and must be improved. We must improve our public space. There are now solutions based on nature that make public spaces more sustainable in our cities and environments. Well, how could citizens come up with ideas? Perhaps a bottom-up solution would be the key to success for effective building renovation. If so, I think, and we think, the new European Bauhaus can work for it. From my office, given my concern as an architect and urban planner, we have been working on this initiative since its launch, holding meetings with various figures, organizations, and associations within and outside the European institutions. The Bauhaus initiative could represent a major policy shift if we reinterpret the Bauhaus as a preliminary phase to the renovation wave. It can provide a timely opportunity to harness the quality, innovation, and creativity of our architects and designers to rethink and reimagine our cities, our neighborhoods, or our buildings, and even our way of life towards a more stimulating and sustainable future. I think that the new European Bauhaus initiative must be a new starting point for the creation of a pan-European network of architectural and urban research centers, or reflection, creation that will serve to improve both the spaces and the cities we inhabit, as well as the environment around them. They must provide guidelines for the renovation wave initiative in order to make it more efficient, more sustainable, and more adaptive to the new ways of living, considering its cultural and social dimension both. And also, it's important to talk about the funding of this initiative. The funding should reflect the interdisciplinary character of the initiative and come from different programs without tapping into already stretched thin Erasmus Plus and Creative Europe programs. New European Bauhaus must take provide fundings from Recovery and Resilience Facility, Horizon Europe, European Regional Development fund. And similarly, we cannot rule out possibilities of co-financing by the member states of each of the sites that they want to be a new Bauhaus site on the next year. From our group, we are proposing to establish mechanisms to obtain part of the funds from the Recovery and Resilience facility allocated to the renovation wave to justify the connection between the two programs, which is obvious and must be recognized at this level. I am finishing. In addition, it should promote sustainable living conditions by changing the course of neoliberal bubble so that the benefits do not go mainly to companies, but primarily to citizens. This will be done through massive quality job creation in the building and restoration sector. This is an important aspect because the renovation wave is going to create more jobs, green jobs, and quality jobs. And also it must recognize the transversality and interdisciplinarity, recognizing that the architecture, art, and the cultural sector as a whole can be easily combined with other sectors such as sociology, geography, urbanism to create a valuable source of knowledge and practice. Open participation should also be a key element for both the Bauhaus and the renovation wave. Citizens must be allowed to become active agents in a no-directed manner. With a culturally based social dynamism, the Bauhaus will act as a catalyst for true pan-European movement and will not fall only into the hands of elite actors. We cannot permit that at the end of all this process, we have a very good exhibition, 2 books, articles on reviews, on papers, but we have to arrive to the real life of people. And we only can achieve this if people participate from the beginning of both initiatives. These are some of my views on the renovation wave of the New European Bauhaus initiative. Both must be fully at the service of citizenships, and I strongly believe that they must go hand in hand, though, so that the renovation of buildings can be effective and takes into account the concern as ideas of our citizens. I am open also to the questions.
Thank you very much. And in fact, I think there might be a question coming your way. But first, I wanted to make sure to address one of the first questions that came through the chat, directed to Julie Fernandez. So this is the portion where we have a Q&A session, which is open for people to post questions in the chat. So please feel free to do so. And this question to you, Julie, is the Conseil National de l'Ordre des Architectes, CNOA. Are you happy with the laws and regulations being introduced by the French government to address climate change? Do they focus enough on the need for comprehensive renovation, which you support? And finally, because this person is double dipping, he's asking a second question, how is France planning to finance the national efforts that will contribute to the renovation wave? Julie, would you like to speak to this?
I'll try to. It's not very easy. 2 difficult questions. The first one, the French government and the politics with renovation. I think the French government made like a big step forward in the last couple of years, and especially with this site I talked about before called FAIR, so to do, where you can find actors like really engage into renovating like the private property buildings, right? The houses, private houses. That's pretty interesting. Then the French government also like is acting towards the public buildings and to have a very strong actions in renovating public buildings like schools, like all the public facilities. So there is a real budget right now for that. Then what we do, we've been talking a lot with them, and now as architects we are really identified actors and that as professionals that can engage or make like users engage works and in a very, like, let's say, constructive way, like talking about like global refurbishment, which is our main focus, right? We are encouraging that, and the government is listening to our advices. It's really like listening and really taking into account what we are saying right now. On the other hand, the government is still like with the public aids, you know, like what we call like the I need to find the word, the subsidies, the public subsidies that will help like private projects. They are still not completely integrating the fact that an architect is like the main person or is the main professional able to coordinate and to work in a global sense, holistic way, and so is not giving subsidies for commissioning with architects. And I think we are pushing towards these kind of actions from the government, instead of pushing subsidies just on elements, like, for example, if there was a strong regulation or strong helps for like private owners to, when they are changing their windows, they will get some money from the government, or if they are insulating their facades or their roofs, they would get also fundings from the government. But all these works were not really supervised or checked by architects or by professionals, and right now the feedback of this kind of subsidies is really bad. So in that sense, we could say that the CNOA is not completely, or the architects engaged are not really satisfied with what the government is doing towards renovation. So I don't know. Maybe I should stop there so other people can answer different questions.
Thank you. And if you have any complementary resources you'd like to post in the chat as well, I suppose that could be useful if you think that helps support your explanation. I would like to address the next question to Paula Rey Garcia. Someone was asking if the Commission is considering to update the definition of NZEB, so that's nearly zero energy building, in the upcoming Energy Performance of Buildings Directive revision. In relation to the decarbonization of heating and cooling, our transition away from fossil fuels and introducing deep renovation standards. Paula, is this something that you could speak to?
Yes, thank you very much. So the renovation wave already underlines a number of areas to be addressed specifically through the revision of the APBD. And one of them is exploring such the deep renovation standard and how it could be best framed and linked also to financial support for building renovation. So that will be part of the work on the revision and on the preparation of the legislative text. And as regards new buildings and nearly zero energy buildings, we also need to see the revision of the existing legislation, including of the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, within the context of the Climate Target Plan and of the increased climate ambition. And therefore, our plan is also to look into new buildings, because in the end, they also set a bit the bar, how the bar will be for construction, and it needs to be aligned also with the efforts towards renovation, towards sustainable buildings. So part of our preparatory work is also to look into this aspect and to see how to align the existing definition of nearly zero energy buildings with the need that was already identified in the vision for 2050 for moving to net zero emission buildings. So on this as well, yes, is part of the preparatory work that we are doing, and where we really welcome contributions to the feedback mechanism now in place until the 22nd of March, and then to be followed by an additional consultation through an open public questionnaire. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've also seen another question, and this one I would like to address to Marcos Rostempere. Someone was asking what more can be done to ensure that citizens, that is average, everyday people, can contribute to the European Bauhaus initiative and to avoid that it becomes a somewhat elitist project. What would be your ideas for this?
Okay, on this point, we have 2 or 3 very clear ideas. The first thing is that the Commission has announced that there will be, first they say 5 pilot projects on the first year, but then they say, now they say at least 5 pilot projects. And we say this morning, for example, we have had the launching of a Francis group here on the Parliament, in which we are 30 members of the Parliament that we are friends of the European Bauhaus, and we have had the launching event with 2 commissioners, with Maria Gabriel and Elisa Ferreira, and we have said to both of them, that they cannot permit that any member state not to have a pilot project for the next year. For example, we have to extend all the pilot projects in the first and the second year to all member states and all regions, and also be rural and urban, because we cannot focus only on big neighborhoods, on big cities. We have to focus on all the territory across the European Union. But the second thing we have to ensure is the participation of the civil society, and they have opened a process. They call it the co-design phase. Is open now from now to the end of June, and in which every citizen can open a conversation and give their examples, their challenges, or their ideas to the new European Bauhaus project. But we also ask and demand to the Commission that more participation of the European Parliament, because the European Parliament, for example, is the only institution that really represents citizens, and citizens can vote on us. So we have started a fruitful conversation with the European Commission in order to become partners of the new European Bauhaus, in order to channel the initiatives of the citizens of the different countries, different ideas, and try to put all of them into the European Commission and the new European Bauhaus. But also, I think there is another very important thing, is to condition the funding of the renovation wave to the application, or to apply the solutions given by the new European Bauhaus. We cannot permit that at the end of all the renovation wave, with millions of euros invested on buildings, we only finally change our heating or our air conditioning of our houses. We have to take the ideas from the new European Bauhaus and to incorporate into the refurbishing of the building. So the only way to do that is to condition the funding to the solutions and ideas coming from the new European Bauhaus. I think that with these 2 or 3 main ideas, we can avoid the new European Bauhaus to finally ends into an elitist solution, and finally arrive to real people and to real refurbishing of buildings and houses.
Thank you. Thank you. And maybe slightly changing gears, but still staying with our Member of Parliament, Mr. Ross, somebody was asking about the perspectives in Spain, and specifically to recognize that the collective of property owners is very important in the renovation of the existing building stock. The person was asking, how will the aid come to the owners and the communities of owners, and at the autonomous level, local level, directly, etc.? Would you be able to speak to that a bit briefly?
Yes. By the moment, the recovery and resilience mechanism just says that each member state will decide how to manage the funds from the state authority or regional authorities or local authorities, and the rules approved by the Parliament on February. They say that each member state must take an account of regional authorities. But we still don't know, for example, in Spain, as the question is focused to Spain, we still don't know which will be the solution given in Spain to manage the funds. But if we take in account the previous experience, we know that any funding given to refurbishing buildings always has been managed by regional authorities, and then owners and community of owners apply to the regional authorities to obtain the funding to refurbishing the building. I am not very sure that it is going to be the final solution, but if we attend to the previous initiatives during years and years of refurbishing buildings in Spain, it's been always the same formula. So I think it may be the more usual and the more likely scenario to apply this fund.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And maybe moving back to one of our earlier speakers, Morten Andreas Meyer, there is a question for you here asking if the digital tool you mentioned, is it available for all property owners? And according to your experience, are all property owners capable of using it? The person was asking, especially considering different age groups and different levels of competence or digital literacy, let's say. Would you be able to speak to that?
Yes, I'll try. Again, due to the lack of integration between the state on data hub and the application we have made and all the third-party solution out there, it will not be when we are launching it now. It will not be available for all citizens or all households in Norway. But we are aiming for that, and we have a constructive dialogue with the government and with the state on the data hub. So that we are aiming for easy, accessible, simple to use solution. But of course, we know that digital tools are more and easier adopted by the young people. Maybe one thing that can be interesting for you to share from the large market survey we did before we decided to go for this development. We asked for the motivation to be a part of or to do energy savings initiatives and activities in your own home. And it's a large motivation from young to older. But it was a difference in what was the key motivation. In the youngest part among the homeowners, environment and energy, climate change, energy savings, and environment, take care of the environment was the most important motivation. Among the older homeowners, economy, your own economy was the main driver for the willingness to drive for energy savings activities in your own home. What we experience in Norway is that there's a lot of financial support to the larger industrial green initiative, and of course that's important if we should reach the goals in the Paris Agreement. But we think it will be very difficult to have all your citizens and homeowners with you if you finance large industrial activities and initiatives and projects and partly finance that with support from each of us if the government the government are not supporting the smaller and more accessible initiatives that each of us can do. So we are in close dialogue both with the government and the parliament at the moment to help them to understand. We are financing as taxpayers and also by the energy bill a lot of larger industrial initiatives, but you also have to take in consideration that you need to also support the smaller, not the big initiatives, but the smaller initiatives that each of us can do. If you are not doing that, you will not have the citizens with you, and you will destroy the motivation that we have concluded that the homeowners have at the moment. Hope you understand the thinking behind that statement.
Thank you, and I hope this also answers Maria's subsidiary question in the chat, and also thank you again to Julie for sharing links and resources also in the chat. I would like maybe to go back to Paula Rey Garcia to talk about the two principles for building renovation, which are set forward by the Renovation Wave, which are affordability and respect for aesthetics and architectural quality. Would it be possible for you to elaborate a bit on how these two principles will be implemented in forthcoming initiatives by the European Union?
Yes, thank you. I think in the case of respect for aesthetics and for architectural quality, there is a very close link to the new European Bauhaus, because it really puts these principles at the very center. And there, right now, we are at the design phase, so we are really in listening mode at the Commission. So engaging as widely as we can and taking part in as many dialogues and meetings as is possible to really listen to everybody, collect ideas, and see how it can be put in place really in the subsequent more operational phases of the project. Then another question has to do with the issue of affordability, and here is very important the focus that is put with the Renovation Wave, in particular on worst performing buildings, and the very closely related issue of energy poverty. So to really put the priority through national under-renovation strategies, through financial support, through technical assistance mobilization, in addressing those buildings that are really in most need of renovation. And this will also have an impact on the energy bills of those living in those buildings. So if this renovation effort is combined also with local support to make sure that there is no a negative effect on rents, for instance, or on market prices, which is something that is really much more linked to location and to local policies. So combining both the renovation with local actions to make sure that it doesn't impact negatively on the market prices. We believe that then the principle of affordability could be really implemented in practice. I would also like maybe to mention that in connection to architectural quality is very important also the activities of another DG of the European Commission, Education and Culture, also the question of respecting and promoting historical value of buildings where there are many not only nationally funded but also EU funded projects, and it's important to make those concrete examples of projects where really architectural and historical value is respected, to show the way and to use them as examples and as front runners for the renovations to follow the same approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like maybe to stress also in the chat, somebody was asking if the Norwegian study regarding the motivation for renovation is accessible to the general public. So perhaps if there is a link to be shared, that would be very useful. If it's not accessible, feel free to answer negatively in the chat as well, so that people could consult it. And with this, we've had a wonderful panel. So I would like to thank all our panelists for their interventions and their contributions. By order of appearance, I would like to thank Morten Andreas Meyer, Julie Fernandez, Paula Rey Garcia, and Marcos Ros Empere for their many answers and their many contributions in this afternoon's session. I think these were very useful, and I see that I can appreciate that the chat was quite lively, so we had a lot of ideas and contributions there. I would also like to conclude by thanking the organizers to this session, the Architects Council of Europe and UIPI, the International Union of Property Owners, for organizing this session. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, the European Economic and Social Committee, Pierre-Jean Coulon, will have the opportunity to give a few closing words, maybe a little summary if you can manage. And thank you again for hosting us, not just virtually, but actually physically in the offices of the European Economic and Social Committee, which is a wonderful thing to do since 12 months. It has been some time, so thank you again for allowing us to be in your premises. Pierre-Jean Coulon.
I can see, Mary, you are very lucky because you are in the premises of the ESC, and myself as a chair of the ESC, a chair of a section of the ESC, I'm not in the premises because you're the pandemic, of course. I will be next week, and you can see also that in this special house of the civil society, you can meet a representative of the European Commission. You can meet representative of the European Parliament. We are between. We are places between the European Commission and between the European Parliament. We have corridors to go there. But what I was very impressive and very happy to hear from Morten, from Emmanuel, from Julie, from Paula, from Marcos, and from all the participants. Half an hour ago, we were close to 100 participants. What is important for us is to share a lot of ideas you did, to give some strategy, to highlight the legislative work of the Commission, to be close to the European Parliament in the very important field of, and particularly in the new Bauhaus. I would like to inform you that the ESC decided a few weeks ago to introduce a study on minimum energy performance standards. This study will launch in 1 or 2 months, and of course you will involve and you will ask to enrich this study, minimum energy performance standards. This will be a good occasion to come against together. What important also, as Paula said, will be the very important legislative work of the Commission in the next weeks, months, and years in the field of to strengthening information, legal incentive, renovation, reinforce accessible and more targeted funding support, technical assistance, sustainable built environment, and so on and so on. What I mean is about 40 important papers will be given to us in the next months and 2 years. As you know, as official consultative body of the European Union, we are obliged to give some opinion on this legislative paper. So what I propose is, when we will asked by the Commission, we are between the Commission and the European Parliament, when we will be asked to give an opinion, is to inform you and to ask you to enrich this opinion. Because this opinion is not only opinion of the ESC, is not opinion of Coulon or another one member of the ESC, it is the opinion of civil society. And you are civil society. And you have to help us to give concrete things, concrete ideas, concrete recommendation, concrete following ideas to the opinions of ESC. The last but not the least is a few words. We were speaking last week. I was speaking with Commissioner Maria Gabriel, and we spoke about Bauhaus. And what I wanted and what I propose is to keep in touch in a few days with Marcos, to have the possibility, to have the ideas, to share some ideas, and to work together. Because, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear, what are we doing here? All of us, we are working for the citizen, with the citizen, but we will success if we work by the citizen. And my dear friends, thanks a lot for coming. Merci beaucoup to the French people. Muchas gracias, Marcos. Dankeschön. Auf Wiedersehen. Merci beaucoup. See you, and please to continue to share together the ideas about renovation wave for the citizens, about new Bauhaus, and together we will success.
Wonderful. What a wonderful way to close. Merci, tusetak. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Thank you for joining us. I would like to also mention, so Emmanuel was very kind to share also in the chat that UIPI is finalizing the survey on property owners' capacity and willingness to renovate. So it looks like this survey is still ongoing. This could be interesting for some of you. I would like to invite our speakers to stay on and to turn on their cameras so that we can take a little family picture of all of you who have intervened. So Marcos, Paola, Morten, Julie, Emmanuel, and Pierre-Jean, if you could please come back on the virtual stage just for a second so we can take a little picture. Thank you all again very much for your intervention and making this afternoon a success. Do you have the screenshot?
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you all. And again, thank you to our hosts and to our organizers. I'm wishing you all a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Au revoir, Pierre.
Merci.